Hey everybody, this is Jim Neeb again. Today I'm going to do a quick review of some new hardware that AVID CNC has put together. They have some information on their website and I'll put some links down below. But I wanted to give an overview of this because for the last couple of years I've been posting some videos about me putting opt lasers on my AVID CNC, and now AVID has put together a whole complete plug and play kit that you can buy from them that does the same thing. They have everything covered, the software, the wiring, the mounting and everything. So they have a nice overview video on how to use it and everything. So I'm not going to cover that, but what I did think was kind of cool is the package of hardware is pretty nice. So I'm just going to go over what all the components are so you can kind of see, a lot of people I've seen look at it and say, well, it's kind of expensive, but when you really add up the components that are in there and the complete package, it's really not. So, compared to like the spindle and the spindle control box that you would get as an option, for example, or the plasma head. So I want to go through everything and just kind of give you all the details of the guts of what's in here and why I think it's a pretty cool. Now, the first thing I want to say is that my setup here is not like the one that AVID sells. I got a prototype. I did some early testing with them just to kind of give them some feedback on it. So I have a very early system that was kind of just cobbled together as a prototype, and I'm going to point out the differences. Plus, I already had lasers, so I didn't need a laser from them because I got several models of the opt lasers. So I'll point out what's the same that you get in the production systems now versus what modifications I've done and why it's different, just so you can know what to expect. All right, first let's start at the gantry or the laser end of this all. So the first thing is let's talk about is the laser itself. I don't have one anymore. I just sold it last week, but this comes with the 15 watt opt laser. I have here an XT50, which is a smaller, more precise version than the 15 watt. And then I have the new 30 watt that just came out. The 15 watt that AVID sells with this is kind of an in-betweener. It's a little better resolution than this 30 watt, but it's half the power. So it's a nice intermediate laser. And right now that's the only option that AVID has. If you want to see what that laser can actually do, I've got plenty of videos where I've done reviews of that, and Opt Lasers has a lot of things on their website to cover what kind of materials and marking metal and cutting wood, etc. Now, just kind of as a plug for the quality of this, Opt Lasers, in my opinion, is by far the highest quality, best diode laser for CNCs out there. There's a lot of Chinese diode lasers out there. They don't last very long. They don't have as good of optics. There's some intermediate ones from some other countries that aren't Chinese. They're better than the Chinese ones, but from everything I've tried over the last few years and seen, there is really, Opt Lasers is second to none for quality. And really, if for AVID to sell anything other than the opt wouldn't really match the quality of, say, their spindles and their plasma heads and stuff. This is really the only logical choice out there. So these are very good lasers. So the 15 watt laser by itself is about $1,900. So that's 2/3 of the way, or half of the price of the kit itself. So that's one part to think about. The second thing here is I've got my laser mounted a little different. I have this quick mount that I use on here. So from AVID, you basically have this laser and you mount it straight to this. I call it an actuating mechanism, but AVID calls it a deploy mechanism. It's a pneumatic, spring-loaded return, but pneumatic deploy rail system that is mounted, the laser is mounted on. And the purpose of that is you can have your spindle right next to your laser, and when you're using the laser, it will come down and stick out past the spindle. You know, you can even have a fair length bit on your spindle, and you know the spindle and the bit won't hit clamps and other things, and then when you're not using it, the laser can be brought up out of the way so it won't hit clamps and things when you're using the spindle. So one of the really cool things about this whole kit is it lets you run literally in the same G-code file a spindle, a bunch of spindle tool paths and the laser tool paths. So it's a combined thing, and you can't really do that with, like, the way I used to have the laser mounted. I would always have to do them separately because I would have to, you know, take the laser out of the way. I didn't have this deploy mechanism and stuff. So this is pretty cool. So just a couple of notes. So I already mentioned that I mounted this sideways. The reason I do that is because it's a little bit better for rastering on some of my other lasers. And what I also did in the back was I added a spring here for a little extra lift, because I'm actually using this 30 watt laser, and this is significantly bigger and heavier. And so with the extra weight of this and the extra weight of the brackets that I've put on here, it can't quite retract. You know, like I said, it's designed for the 15 watt laser, which is lighter and less bracketing than I have on here. So what here is basically comes with it is the 15 watt laser and then this pneumatic. And you can see in the back here, there's two cylinders. One is has a pneumatic damper on the top, so you can control how fast it retracts. And then the other one is the airline, or the air deploy cylinder that pushes it down. So that's a very nice mechanism. The way AVID designed it was that it can mount on the left or the right side of your spindle. You can see it bolts right into the Z stage there very nicely. So complete bolt-on, ready to go kit. I should note that, as I mentioned, the big 30 watt laser doesn't really work on this setup without modifications, but all of the smaller lasers, so like this XT50, they're fully compatible with this kit. So if you buy the kit with the 15 watt and then you decide you want to do some really high resolution engraving or do some picture rastering, all you got to do is buy this laser and bolt it on. All the electrical connections, everything's 100% plug and play. So because Opt is very good about maintaining their wiring from generation to generation too. I've had all four of the laser heads that I have that are just standalone engraving heads like this. They all have the same power and signal connection. Okay, now let's look at the control box. So you can see on the side of mine, my first box here is is basically the controls box. It has my ESS board and the power supplies for the motors and all that. That's standard AVID stuff. And then over here is my spindle control box. In the middle is the laser control box. Now, as I said, mine's a prototype, so I don't have the AVID logo. It came blank, and so I added my own. Their production ones have the similar AVID CNC label on it, and mine has the door that goes down, which is not how the laser one is, the production version either. But I just thought I'd go over some of the stuff here and some of the neat features they added to this. So it has the power supply for the laser in it. Now, the one I have here is, I replaced the smaller one. They put a nice quality Meanwell power supply in, which is a very good brand. I put a bigger one in because I am running a 30 watt laser, and so the one that comes with it is sized for the 15 watt laser. The pneumatics here are nice. They've got one pneumatic solenoid cylinder for the main power, or the main air coming in, basically. So when you power off your machine, it shuts the air off to everything, and that way, you know, there's a lot of plumbing in here, and you don't want like a slow leak in your system, draining your air tank over the night. So basically, the incoming air is shut off right at the input when your system's powered off. Then you have two downstream solenoids after that. One is for the air deploy unit, so that's what drops the laser down and allows it to retract. The other one is for the air assist. So if you've watched any of my videos, you know that all of the op lasers have an air assist nozzle on them. Basically, it's an airstream to keep the smoke and debris off of the lenses, as well as it aids cutting by blowing air through the laser curve. So this is also in here, and then you've got pressure regulators for your main air to both of them, and then a separate regulator that controls the air to the air nozzle, because that usually you want to turn down significantly. You know, you might have 100 psi coming into the system, and that's regulated here. And then secondarily, when the air tapped off to go to the air nozzle, you probably want to turn down to like 25 psi, because it doesn't have a lot of back pressure on it, so it doesn't need a lot of pressure. So you can adjust those two separately. You see here there's an air sensor, so that if your air pressure isn't good, the software, they actually built it into the screen so it detects whether or not there's adequate air pressure in the system. So you'll get an error, and it'll, you know, not run if you don't have good enough air pressure. So because obviously if it doesn't deploy properly, you won't get a good focal point if it's not all the way down, and you also won't get good air at your nozzle if you don't have that. So that's a nice safety thing. And then both of the solenoids for the deploy mechanism as well as the air nozzle have flow controls on them, so you can adjust again the flow rate going to your nozzle as well as your deploy. So you know, you don't want to slam that laser down every time. You can adjust the speed of it. All of this is controlled via the ESS in here. So the kit comes with a nice little plug-in board and all the wiring to go from this box to this box. So it's all complete. And then the other thing you see here, which you can see on the outside, that is the op lasers adapter box, and that's basically a control unit for the laser itself. Allows you to do test firing and arm the laser, things like that. A couple of other features they added out here is kind of nice, is they put a couple of quick disconnects here. So, you know, if you bring air into the system on this line, and then you might want to have an air gun or some other accessory that you just want to hook up quick, they've got these two accessory terminals here, so that's real nice. You know, and it's not really related to the laser, but it's a nice touch to make it convenient to have like a air blast gun or something on the system near your CNC. So that's the whole control box. You know, I've been using this now for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. I've had zero issues with it. All of these components are very good quality. It's a nice, completely self-contained unit. So when you buy all this, they've got, just like they do with the spindle or anything else, they've got all the pieces already figured out, all the wiring, all the connectors, the breakout board for the ESS, the laser, the mounting. So very simple to put it all together and install. Okay, I'm just going to do a real quick lap or two through the software that AVID has worked on. So I will link to, they have a couple of really nice videos on how to actually run a rastering routine or a standard vector run, kind of, you know, all the way through the process on their webpage. I'll link to that, but I'm just going to show you kind of, you know, what they've added to the laser screen, or to the screen set for laser specifically. So under laser offsets, they've added some capability here to do offsets from your spindle. which is nice because you might want to use the touch plate on your spindle, and then you can just hard code these offsets in for your laser, and then you can automatically switch back and forth. The other thing they did was add this button right here for process vector laser G code, and that's really cool because if you look like the way me and everybody else who's put lasers on here, or pretty much any other CNC, they have to have a special post processor for Vectric or Fusion 360 to process to get the right commands in their G code to run the laser, which works fine, but you can't really do that if you want to run a single G code file to run both your laser and your spindle all in one shot. So they came up with a really cool idea. They post-process the G-code file, and based on the tool number that you select, it knows that that piece of G-code is for the laser. And so they post-process it and change the G-code from, basically you're treating the laser as an end mill when you generate it, either in Fusion 360 or in Vectric or something else. But the cool thing is this is really generic for any kind of cam tool that you spit out. It will just convert that portion of it to laser. So again, you end up with a file that can run both spindle work and laser, and that's really unique. And I think, you know, for people doing production work where they want to do all that in one shot, it's really cool. So now if you go over here, they've added this little window over here, and so like here's your air assist. That turns your air jet on, and then here's your laser deploy. So if I push this, you can see over there the laser head deploys and retracts. And you can do that manually, as well as they have made it automatic too in some certain cases. So they've also done a good job of setting this up so you can run automated jobs where, you know, you would do spindle and everything all in one shot, or if you want to do things separately and a little more manually, this also supports it. And then they've got the standard arm and fire button. So like when you want to test fire the laser, you can adjust your raster and your vector power levels on the laser relative to what's commanded in G code, just like you do, you know, for your spindle override or your feed rates or anything. So that's cool as well. And then on the touch plate as well, they've added a laser section. So what they did was you basically use the tip of the laser itself. If I go over here, the actual air nozzle is used with the standard touch plate, and that will give you your X, Y, and Z for the laser. So they've kind of, you know, walked through the whole process and made the laser convenient to use, just like a spindle would be with a regular tool. So overall, the system is really nice. You know, it's a nice combination of software and hardware, and I think, like I said, it's a little unique in that it's pretty generic. You can use Fusion 360, you can use VCarve, Aspire, you know, whatever you want, and you don't have to use special post processors or anything. They took care of all of it for you. So I really, you know, like the software. And if you are used to using a different screen, or you don't, you know, you want to do things differently, like I do, I've got my own screen setup that I like, just because, you know, I've written it to be the way I want it. I can still use all the hardware. I'm using it right now with my screen. So very flexible, like everything else with Avid. You kind of, you know, you can use their setup 100% plug and play if you want, or you can easily modify things and kind of go your own way too, if that turns your crank. So it's got a little bit of something for everybody in it. All right, that's kind of everything I wanted to show. Like I said, there's more details on Avid's site. Check out the links down below to see some of their videos, and where you can go look at it on their website if you want. Again, I think this is a really nice overall package. You know, kind of fits in well with their way they do their other things like the plasma kit and the spindle kits. So, like, nice job, Avid. I like it a lot. If you have any questions on this or the software or anything, you can always go to Avid support. They're great, but feel free to throw something down in the description section, comments. I always take a look and always answer them. So feel free to ask anything that I didn't cover well here. Thank you.